The lights shone brightly, the music played. The atmosphere was electric, filled with anticipation and excitement. The crowd roared with applause, their faces illuminated by the dazzling lights. It was a night that promised to be unforgettable, a night where dreams were made and stars were born. The Golden Globes unfolded in a spectacle of self-congratulation. Celebrities paraded down the red carpet, their designer gowns and tailored suits shimmering under the flash of countless cameras. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfumes and the sound of laughter and chatter. It was a celebration of talent, of hard work, of success. Yet behind the facade of celebration, a chilling truth whispered. In the shadows, away from the glitz and glamour, there was a sense of emptiness, a void that no amount of applause could fill. The dark alley behind the theater stood in stark contrast to the bright lights of the stage, a reminder of the reality that lay beneath the surface. It was a truth absent from the acceptance speeches, a truth that no one dared to speak of. The microphone stood silent, the stage empty, as if waiting for someone to acknowledge the unspoken reality. But the words never came, and the silence was deafening. Missing from the red carpet interviews were questions about fashion and upcoming projects took precedence over deeper, more meaningful conversations. The reporters, eager for a soundbite, overlooked the truth that lay just beneath the surface. And as the night wore on, the red carpet emptied, leaving behind only the echoes of laughter and applause, and utterly ignored by the glittering throng. The ballroom, once filled with laughter and music, now stood empty, the decorations a stark reminder of the night's hollow glory. The people, dressed in their finest, had moved on, leaving behind only the remnants of their celebration. That truth? God was not in Hollywood. He was not honored. The darkened church, with its empty pews and flickering candles, stood as a testament to this reality. The cross, shrouded in shadows, seemed to weep for the lost souls who had forgotten their Creator. He was not even acknowledged. The altar, once a place of worship, now stood empty. The Bible, covered in dust, lay forgotten on a shelf. The church, with its broken windows, seemed to cry out for the return of its flock. This was not merely an oversight. It was a deliberate choice, a turning away from the one who had given them everything. The empty prayer room, once filled with the whispers of the faithful, now stood silent, a stark reminder of the choices that had been made. It was a deliberate omission. The tearing of religious texts, the turning off of church lights, the removal of religious symbols, all were acts of rebellion, of defiance against the Creator. It was a statement loud and clear that they had chosen their own path, a path that led away from God. A symptom of a much deeper disease infecting not just the entertainment industry but our entire culture. The neon lights of the city, the digital billboards, the people rushing by without a second glance, all were signs of a society that had lost its way. The street preacher, ignored by the crowd, stood as a lone voice in the wilderness, crying out for a return to the truth. A disease of spiritual amnesia, of willful ignorance, of forgetting the one who had given them life. The beggar, ignored by passers-by, the homeless person, overlooked by the crowd, the person distracted by their phone in church, all were symptoms of a deeper malaise, a spiritual sickness that had taken hold of our society, of outright rebellion against the Creator of the universe. The protests, the anger, the broken religious statues, all were signs of a society in turmoil, a society that had turned its back on God. The anger and rebellion were not just against the world, but against the very one who had created it. We have built altars to ourselves, to our desires, to our fleeting pleasures. The luxury cars, the mirrors, the lavish parties, all were symbols of a society that worshipped itself, that placed its own desires above everything else. The altars we had built were not to God but to ourselves. We chase after fame and fortune as if they were deities themselves. The paparazzi, the cheering crowds, the money, all were signs of a society that had made fame and fortune its gods. We had forgotten the true source of our blessings, the one who had given us everything. We have forgotten the one who grants every good and perfect gift, the one who had given us life and breath. The person praying alone in the church, the open Bible, the hands lifted in prayer, all were reminders of the true source of our blessings, the one who had given us everything, the one in whose hands our very breath resides, the close-up of a person breathing, the hands clasped in prayer, the deep contemplation, all were reminders of the one who held our lives in his hands, the one who had given us everything. And the consequences of this forgetfulness will be dire. The stormy sky, the dark clouds, the abandoned city street, all were signs of the coming judgment, the consequences of our forgetfulness. The storm was coming, and it would not be kind to those who had turned their backs on God. What was once shocking is now commonplace. What was once whispered in hushed tones is now proclaimed from the rooftops. Disrespect for God, for His word, for His very existence has become not just acceptable, but fashionable. We see it in the mockery of faith on television, in the casual blasphemy of everyday conversation, in the rejection of absolute truth in our education system. We see it in the erosion of moral boundaries, the celebration of what was once considered sin, the relentless pursuit of self-gratification at any cost. The line between good and evil has become blurred, then trampled underfoot. The sacred is desecrated, the profane is exalted. And a culture that once drew strength and guidance from its Judeo-Christian roots now finds itself adrift in a sea of moral relativism, awash in the consequences of its own making. But the warnings are all around us, if only we would open our eyes to see. The story of Noah is not just a children's tale. It is a profound narrative that has echoed through the corridors of time, carrying with it a message that transcends generations. It's a stark reminder of what happens when humanity abandons God and embraces wickedness. The tale of Noah is a testament to the consequences of moral decay and the divine response to human corruption. Genesis 6 paints a chilling picture of those days. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. This wasn't a mere lapse in judgment, it was a complete and utter moral collapse. This wasn't just about a few bad apples, it was a society that had lost its way, a civilization that had turned its back on its creator. It was a pervasive corruption, a stench that rose up to heaven. The earth was filled with violence, and every corner of society was tainted by sin. And God, grieved by the depths of human depravity, sent a flood to cleanse the earth and begin anew. The flood was not just a punishment, it was a reset, a chance for humanity to start over with a clean slate. But the echoes of that ancient judgment reverberate throughout history. The story of Noah is a reminder that divine justice is not a relic of the past but a reality that continues to shape our world. Sodom and Gomorrah consumed by fire for their sexual immorality and arrogance. These cities serve as a stark warning of the consequences of living in defiance of divine law. The Tower of Babel, its ambitions shattered by a God who refused to be mocked. The story of Babel is a testament to the futility of human pride and the limits of human ambition. These are not just isolated incidents, they are part of a larger narrative, a tapestry of divine intervention woven throughout history. They are cautionary tales, signposts pointing to the inevitable consequences of unchecked sin. Each story, each event, is a reminder that there are boundaries to human behavior, and crossing those boundaries invites disaster. And the signs of our own time are eerily familiar. The moral decay, the societal corruption, the disregard for divine law, these are the same issues that plagued ancient civilizations. The question is, will we heed the warnings of the past, or are we doomed to repeat the same mistakes? The echoes of ancient warnings are all around us, urging us to reflect, to repent, and to return to a path of righteousness. As we navigate the complexities of our modern world, let us not forget the lessons of history. The stories of Noah, Sodom and Gomorrah, and the Tower of Babel are not just ancient myths, they are timeless truths that continue to speak to us today. They remind us that while human nature may be flawed, there is always hope for redemption. The choice is ours, to heed the echoes of ancient warnings or to ignore them at our peril. In the end, the story of Noah and the echoes of ancient warnings are about more than just judgment. They are about the possibility of renewal, the promise of a new beginning, and the enduring hope that, no matter how dark the times may seem, there is always a chance for a brighter future. The sins of Sodom and Gomorrah, once whispered in hushed tones, are now celebrated openly. Sexual immorality, once confined to the shadows, is now mainstream entertainment. Pride, greed, and self-indulgence run rampant, fueled by a culture that worships at the altar of the self. Our cities, once beacons of hope and progress, increasingly resemble the ancient cities of the plain. They are places where anything goes, where morality is fluid, and where the pursuit of pleasure trumps all other considerations. And just as the inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah faced judgment for their wickedness, so too will we face the consequences of our choices. We cannot expect to sow the wind and not reap the whirlwind. We cannot mock God and expect his blessings. We cannot thumb our noses at his laws and expect to escape his justice. The writing is on the wall, both literally and figuratively. In the Garden of Eden, it was a serpent who tempted Eve with forbidden fruit. This act of temptation set the stage for humanity's ongoing struggle with sin and desire. The serpent's cunning and deceit were powerful enough to alter the course of human history, leading to the fall from grace and the expulsion from paradise. Today, the serpent has a new tool technology. This modern serpent is not a creature of flesh and blood, but a digital entity, lurking in the shadows of our screens and devices. It whispers to us through notifications, luring us into a web of endless scrolling and mindless consumption. The internet, smartphones, and other digital devices have become integral parts of our daily lives. They connect us to the world, provide us with information, and offer convenience like never before. However, these same tools have a darker side that often goes unnoticed. Social media. These marvels of the modern age have also become conduits for sin, amplifying our worst impulses and making it easier than ever to indulge our darkest desires. The platforms designed to bring us together often end up driving us apart, fostering envy, jealousy, and a constant need for validation. Amplifying our worst impulses and making it easier than ever to indulge our darkest desires. Pornography, once hidden away in seedy theaters, is now readily available at the click of a button, poisoning the minds and souls of countless individuals. The accessibility of explicit content has led to an epidemic of addiction, affecting relationships and mental health. Once hidden away in seedy theaters, explicit content is now just a click away. The anonymity of the internet has made it easier for people to seek out and consume such material without fear of judgment or consequence. Is now readily available at the click of a button, creating a culture where instant gratification is the norm. This ease of access has led to a desensitization, where the shocking and obscene become mundane and routine, poisoning the minds and souls of countless individuals. The impact of this digital poison is profound, leading to feelings of isolation, depression, and anxiety. The virtual world, once a place of escape, has become a prison for many, trapping them in cycles of negative behavior and thought. Violence and hatred spew forth from our screens, desensitizing us to the suffering of others. The anonymity provided by the internet allows people to say and do things they would never consider in real life, leading to a culture of cruelty and insensitivity, desensitizing us to the suffering of others. Cyberbullying, online predators, and the erosion of privacy are just a few of the dark fruits born by this technological revolution. The digital age has given rise to new forms of harassment and exploitation, affecting people of all ages and backgrounds. And the erosion of privacy are just a few of the dark fruits born by this technological revolution. Our personal information is constantly at risk, with hackers and data breaches becoming increasingly common. The sense of security we once had in our private lives is now a distant memory. We have embraced these tools without considering the consequences, without fully understanding the potential dangers. The allure of technology is strong, promising convenience and connection, but often delivering isolation and addiction. Without erecting the necessary safeguards, we have opened the gates to a flood of negative influences. The lack of regulation and oversight has allowed harmful content to proliferate, affecting the most vulnerable among us, without pausing to ask ourselves if progress is always synonymous with good. The relentless pursuit of innovation has led us to overlook the ethical implications of our actions. We must take a step back and consider the long-term effects of our technological advancements, and the price of our recklessness is becoming increasingly clear. The mental health crisis, the erosion of privacy, and the rise of digital addiction are just a few of the consequences we face. It is time to reevaluate our relationship with technology and seek a balance that allows us to enjoy its benefits without falling prey to its dangers.
If you enjoyed this video, please like it, leave a comment, and if you are not subscribed, subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to not miss any videos like this one.